Hi guys, I just wanted to do a bit of a recap of my ups and downs in this build and the problems I have and how I solved it and stuff like that. So the idea was to build a gun which, like, I gotta say, I have no experience with Glocks. I never possessed Glock or had Glock, never shot even with one, so it was purely in my mind, idea which I had. Make a police safety switch. When a police officer goes out on his patrol and the criminal tries to overpower him and take his gun, it will not shoot in the criminal's hands. That was the whole idea. All in all, I'm happy with the results. It's been a roller coaster year for sure. Took me a while because many things happen. Gotta continue working. I had a heavy case of the Mexican cerveza, but I'm still here, alive and kicking. Had to go through that too. Any help from you is gonna be very appreciated. I wanna continue doing this fun builds. I've done fun builds before and I have many in my mind, but all I need is time, and as they say, time is money, and that's what's slowing me down. I've been at it like almost a year now. It takes time, that's for sure. Let's begin. I forgot to buy this spring, which is, this spring plays a tug of war kind of with the striker. I had to watch a lot of YouTube videos about the inner works of Glock to understand how it works, but live and learn. And this spring comes here, right here, and then is attached to here. Some of you may know, and this is old news, but it's like that. The Glock, when it's cocked or loaded, it's in this position here. The striker is pushing it forward. The spring is strong, but all this one is pulling it back, which eases your pull. Also, this spring, something which I didn't know and discovered later, because this bar here is way longer. It extends down, it's like twice as much, I guess, like maybe a quarter, and this hole is down below, which puts the spring in downward position like this. And when you press the trigger and fire, because the spring is pulling this bar up, like the bar is like that, the bar is like this. Let's see, it pushes it up and resets the trigger, because after the shot this goes up, and then when the slide comes back, the striker catches it again and pushes it forward, and that's how the trigger is reset. Now, I did not know that, because I'm working with a frame of a air gun. Funny. When I've completed my build here and I assembled everything, I've discovered that this spring interfering with the action of the bar, because it's actually in downwards angle, and because the spring is downwards, pushes this bar up, pulls it up, and allows for the trigger reset. Basically, this spring was no good. That's original spring from a Glock17 Gen 4. I went hunting for another spring. I went to a place where they make springs. I bought me some. Now, as you can see, this spring is much skinnier, but it has the same stiffness, which was working fine with what I had in mind. I dropped the spring, and I shortened this one, and that's the new one. Now this guy was working fine, but it still had some snags. It was working like 95%, right? And we can't have that when human lives are at stake. We want this to be 100%. I had to rework the whole housing again and make the position of the pin lower so it does not interfere with this spring. That's what I did. Luckily I had a second housing. I lowered the position of the safety pin way lower. And also I had to rework. I had a second bar, that's good. So I had to change the position of the second bar, the tooth here. This is the new one. This is the old one. As you can see, the position of that tooth is way lower, and it allows to catch the safety pin earlier. And this guy is the first prototype, I might say. It works fine, but I was not happy with it. So okay, when this one went out the window, and now I thought I'm ready. I had the pin. I made the hole lower too. You can see it. I made the hole lower. This is the new one. And the idea was you put here the pin, the safety pin, and then you put magnets. And the magnets, the whole trick is that when the magnets are here, they're magnetizing this steel piece, this pin, and there is metal inside the housing. You can see it right here. There is metal inside the housing. And because it's magnetized, the pin attracts, naturally goes up and attaches to the metal up in upwards position, which is locking position, and that's what we need. And there is a bit of a lip here which allows, when you press the trigger, the whole bar goes into that slot on the top and it cannot come out. Also, I made this tooth on a bit of an angle so the pin doesn't slide out, doesn't jump out, just like that. Okay, so far so good. Assembled everything with the new, it's magnetized, with this spring, the new spring. I assembled everything, it's working fine, and then it was time to go and put it in a real Glock. We did that. Friend of mine has a real, he's got a nice real Glock17 Gen 4. We put it in just to do a dry fire test, see how it works. And surprise, it didn't want to reset the hammer. It just didn't want to reset the hammer. The reason was because this bar, which I cut to help myself so it doesn't interfere with the spring, was too short. And the spring, instead of being on an angle and pushing the bar up after the shot, was standing like this. Instead of being like that, actually for real, like that. This is going to be the real position. And then after the shot, it will pull this bar up because it has that angle here. It's going to pull it up and allow the trigger to catch it when it comes back after the shot, and thus reset the trigger. Now with this current situation, this spring was like this and there was no upward motion, so there was no resetting. The trigger of the Glock was not resetting. Everything else was working, but the trigger was not resetting, which was a big problem. I had to solve this problem somehow, and then I went to all different solutions. I tried to change the angle here. I was sleeping and thinking about the problem, and I was thinking maybe some kind of spring here which I can put and push this bar up at all times, because the slide has kind of like a bump on the inside where it comes. Let me show you here. The whole thing is like that. Okay. Alright, so when this slide goes down, there is a bump inside of the slide of the gun, of the real gun, which when it comes down after the shot, it pushes on this tab here, and as it goes like that, it allows for the bar to jump up in this situation, in this position like that, and then the striker catches it and slides it forward in this position, and it's cocked and resets the trigger at the same time. When this bar was pressed, this bar was pressed from that bump inside the slide, because the spring was like this, it didn't want to jump up, it was not allowing the striker to catch that lip here of the trigger bar and to return it back into this position. It was a pickle. I was thinking I can put some kind of spring, what kind of spring I can put, and then I came up with this simple solution. This is a safety pin, which is a spring, right? So safety pin goes in here. Actually, this is my first prototype safety pin, which works, but I still didn't like it. So this is my second prototype of safety pin, or the spring, which I did. Hope you can see it. Looks like that. Okay. This one I installed inside here. I made a new hole in the housing. Now keep in mind, this housing, if you have a Glock, all you gotta do is put this housing in if you want to achieve what we have here. That's safety. It's not gonna interfere with your Glock, and like your original gun is gonna be the same. All you gotta do is change the housing and the trigger bar, and if you want to go back to the same old gun you have, you just put the original ones in, and that's it. Don't have to excuse me, drill anything in the Glock. The magnet, which is tiny, works through the plastic, so it's awesome that way. I installed the spring here, put this here, and now when it goes down and the bump depresses the trigger, I'll show you I'll put it in the Glock in a bit. It kicks up what we need, the bar up, so it can be caught, right? So just give me a second. Everything comes together beautifully, because right now it's kind of all over the place, but when you install the spring inside this one, that spring pushes my funny spring here pushes it in, and everything comes in place. I even grinded up a slot on this. I don't know if you can see it. Yeah, there is a slot which the springs moves on and it doesn't jump out. This spring, this guy, the upper part of this guy moves on that slot and stays there. Okay, let me assemble everything and I'll show you how it works. Okay, I assembled it, put it inside the frame of the air Glock. Spring is inside. The backup spring to lift the bar is up. It's inside. Now it's not gonna shoot. Alright. But let's say the police officer drew it. And because this is not in the proper position, the real Glock, it has a nice seat which takes that housing and keeps it stable. Here the housing is kind of floating back and forth, so I have to help it move back. But you saw the bar moving down, right? Because the magnet is on the bottom pulling it. Now it's ready to shoot. Boom, shoots. Now the slide moves back and that bump there has to reset the trigger. Okay, cleans it up a bit. Now the slide moves back and hits that bump to reset the trigger. Boom. It jumps up, ready to receive the striker again, which is gonna move forward and cock the gun and reset the trigger again. Boom. Again. Resets the trigger. Ready for another shot. Goes up. Nobody home. Doesn't want to shoot. Anyways, long story short, I took it to my friend. We installed this housing in his real Glock and did some dry fire. Works like a charm. It was resetting the trigger every time. It did what it's supposed to. No magnet on the back of the real Glock. As soon as right now it doesn't want to shoot because there is no magnet. As soon as you put the magnet on, it just moves the bar automatically down there. The magnet attracts the magnets inside of the housing through the plastic and is ready to fire. No problem. So in the real gun, we were getting 100% reset of the trigger and the rest of the stuff which we want. No firing at all when there is no magnet. That's like 100%. Nobody home. You can still press it here, but as soon as that bar moves, it moves that in that slot, and the pin moves in the slot, the safety pin, and it stops, and there is no moving. That's it. And then if you put the magnet, keep in mind this is going to be forward a bit because this is nicely seated, and the spring still compresses this forward, So as soon as you put the magnet or the glove with the magnet here, it's a tiny magnet, right? It's like tiny. It's so tiny, it's less than a penny, way less than a penny. So like that, nobody. Put it on. The bar moves down, shoots, and not only shoots, the most important thing, it resets the trigger again for another shot. So that's truly, I think, is complete product actually, and I'm truly hoping that we can go on the fire range and test it next week. That'll be the ultimate test, and I'll let you know how it goes. I appreciate your help. As usual, subscribe, share this please to everybody who's interested in guns and safety, gun safety. And I'll see you on the target range. I'm truly hoping, because I've been postponing it for so long, and I want to see this done so I can move on other fun builds. I have so many in my head, can't wait to finish with this one. So please subscribe, share, drop a comment, and thank you very much. Again, you guys are my heroes, because you're supporting me by watching this and sharing it and being just the lifeblood of the gun community. Thank you very much. See you next time.